take shape, thoughts find out, and every conversation explores beyond of thinking, beyond the obvious. And today I have my special guest. One of her advocacy, don't forget to be vivacious. None other than Miss Vanessa the Vivacious.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Welcome back, Miss Vanessa, and I hope you will be my regular guest on my podcast.
100%. Totally there for it.
Yes, and thank you so much for being there. And as usual, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world and your energy to be vivacious. What is all about?
To be vivacious is to be full of life and to grasp every opportunity that's in front of you and create every opportunity that's not in front of you. So you live life with vivacity or with intensity and you just go after everything possible because we have but the one life.
Mm, life is too short, people. Life is too short. So, why is it cultivating a vivacious presence more critical now in our hybrid, distracted world than perhaps it was before?
Because now is the time for us to make change, to influence others for a more positive future. In the past, we've gone through a lot of difficult times personally and as a culture, as humanity. And so being vivacious and making it a point to make the best out of every day and to really grasp every ounce of opportunity and positive moment, it's so important to where we are at this point. If we can do that, then we'll be able to change lives. We'll be able to change our local communities where it starts and then it just gets bigger than that. And so this vivacious life will then echo, right? Like sound
Mm,
echoing out, or waves in the ocean just echoing out. And then those waves are going to make an impact somewhere. So by living a vivacious lifestyle, we can make significant change, but we can also create opportunity for the future.
Miss Vanessa, what is the biggest misconception people have about being vivacious? And how can someone be powerfully vivacious in a quiet, introverted, or authentic to them way?
Very good questions. So, for the first question in regards to misconceptions about being vivacious, the misconception is that you have to already know who you are as a vivacious person, that you have to have some sort of resume or some sort of heavy life experience that says, I'm here and I deserve to be here. There's a lot of the word it comes to me almost like imposter syndrome. That's what I'm thinking of. And
Hmm.
so we tend to slide back and shy away from being vivacious because we feel that there's some sort of prerequisite that's required when actually your personal life experience, and I'm talking to all of you, your personal life experience is your own, and that makes you a subject matter expert in yourself. And yourself is much needed in this world. And so that being said, you don't need to have massive life experience. You don't have to have an education. You don't have to have, accreditations from schools or from other people, other nods on LinkedIn or other recommendations. What matters most is what you personally do with your life. And personally, I think that not focusing on what other people are doing, that's where the power is. Focusing on yourself and harnessing your energy and then spreading that out because everyone's going to be drawn to you personally just by you being yourself. And so when we start to watch what everyone else is doing, oh my God, Mark and Sarah have this, great wealth. Oh my God, John and Diane are living the life when really John and Diane are about to, lose their home. you know, Sarah and Mark are fighting nonstop. Like everyone has problems, but the I think the root of it is what do you do when you have those problems? What do you do? Do you sit and soak about it? Do you get mad about it? Which is fine. Getting sad about it, feeling your feelings is fine, but it's what you do with it. What's your next step? Do you get up and take a walk? Do you get up and read a book? Do you go and write? Do you play music? What do you do with it? And those life experiences, those, shared humanness experiences, those are what cultivate and create that vivaciousness inside you. And then when you realize that, hey, you know what, I am worth something, I am a person that has something to say or do, and you just live your truth in a vivacious way, then you can do all of those things. It really just takes action and intention, pure intention of doing something amazing beyond yourself. Everyone has that capacity. And that's also a misconception, people thinking that, oh, well, I don't have it in me, or, John Smith is better at this than me because he's an accredited speaker, or, any kind of example you can think of. I'm sure if we take a moment right now, every person can think of someone who's better than them. But then
Mm.
ask yourself, why do you think they're better than you? Is it because they have something or they've done something? But at the end of the day, come back to yourself and realize that no one is you. No one has your imprint. No one has your words, your movement, your brains, your talent, whether you know your talents or not. No one is like you. And that's why you are so unique. And that's why you should, take up the vivaciousness vibe and lead a vivacious lifestyle out loud. There's no more time for reserve. There's no more time to just sit inside ourselves, because for what? The world needs to see you and hear you and feel you. And so that's just the prescription as a non-doctor that I would offer is be your authentic self and live out loud in a vivacious way. As far as what
Yes.
someone can do when they are, a little bit more closed off or timid or a little shy, that's okay too. There's actually power in that, because there's power in observation. There's power in being silent. There's power in just taking a step back and seeing the world for what it is and understanding what the makeup is of our society, understanding relationships and how they work, and how sometimes people can be fickle, right? People can be,
Yes.
a little wishy washy. And then you ask yourself, okay, well, why are they like that? Is there something more? There's always something more to why we are the way we are. And so exploring that and figuring out relationships, or figuring out how can I get that next job, or what do I need to do? All of these introspective conversations that you have with yourself as a timid person or a shy person, those are all valuable tools that you have. If you're someone that's, questioning, do I do this or that? I heard an excellent piece of advice from a woman named Shannon Michelle. And she said that when you have moments of indecision, you should tell yourself yes, no, or maybe. And then let your heart guide you to what your answer is. And if it's a yes, then you do it. If it's a no, then you don't. And if it's a maybe, then you sit on it and come back to it. But there's so much that we can do. I think that if we live quiet lives, then we'll benefit personally. We'll be very wise, but then who do you pass that wisdom on to? Right? It's
Mm.
so important to pass on these pearls of wisdom that you've gathered in your life and that our audience has gathered. And we all need to talk to each other. A lot of our indecision and vitriol with political sides, all of these things come from not communicating with one another, or not even stopping to understand what the other person is saying and to hear them out. I find that sometimes we're closed off, and we believe our personal opinions, and that's fine. That's good to be rooted in yourself, but it's also something else to elevate yourself and stop and say, okay, let me hear what this other person is saying, and let me, take that in and kind of interpret it and see if I can view things from their viewpoint. So I would say again, for someone that's timid or doesn't really know quite where to start inside here, because that's the best place, and you'll always come back to what's inside.
Yes, people, this 2026, harness your energy and be vivacious. So let's talk about the source code, Miss Vanessa. Where does sustainable, genuine, vivacious energy come from? How is it different from just acting
Mm.
enthusiastic?
So that energy comes from within 100%. We are all sources of energy, whether it's, good energy, bad energy, mild energy, cold, hot. We're all sources of energy. So I feel like it comes from within. but also maybe the world around us too, because the world has an impact on us. Everything I feel in this universe has an energy to it. And so we receive these energies and we, put them inside of us, or we read things, we watch movies, we view art, and those energies come, to us and they synergize with us. So I feel like there's like this big giant root ball of energy in all of us. And that's where that vivaciousness cultivates and comes from.
Yes. Interesting and empowering answer, Miss Vanessa. The practical application and daily practice. What's one microchef in approach for a body language someone can make in the first minutes of a meeting or conversation, a project engaged by vicious energy?
Hmm. I would say a daily practice would be writing down something that you have an intention for, and then finding a way in the world to kind of explore and put that out. So for instance, say you want to write a book about humanity, and then you decide, okay, I'm going to go to the park and I'm just going to talk to people, and I'm going to just, talk about humanity, and then take that home with me and write this amazing book. Or maybe I'm going to go to the park and I'm going to sit down and observe humanity, and then I'm going to go home and take this back to that book. But I think, writing, even if it's just a sentence or a paragraph, if you wish, or some people that are prolific writers and you write a whole page. That's what what is his name? Stephen King says to do, write every day, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so I feel like if we could, just put it on paper, make it tangible in whatever way you need to, and then find a way to reflect it in the world. And then, just kind of feed off of that energy into whatever it is that your intention is.
Yes, write every day. If you have the passion to write and share to the world, people, vivacity can be draining if mismanaged. What's your non negotiable practices for protecting your own energy so you can show fully for others, Miss
Mm.
Vanessa?
It is turning things off, closing my eyes, turning myself off. It's a
Mm.
hard switch to find sometimes, but when I'm so busy or I am invested in a conversation over a podcast and it lasted 2 hours, this is recent, and at the end I was so drained, but I just said, "Okay, let me just turn off everything." The act of turning off the computer, it feels good. The act of closing your phone, right? That
Mhm.
feels good. Sometimes I leave the phone in the room and I close the door, literally, and that feels good. So some sort of act that you can do that will identify closure or stop or pause. I feel like that's so therapeutic. Sleep is good. I don't sleep a whole lot, just it's just how I am, but when I do sleep, oh, I sleep. So sleep is good.
Like
Water,
hibernating.
yes, water is good.
Mhm.
Vegetables are good. Just I food, so nourishment, hydration, sleep, and then turning things off. That's what it is for me. Oh, music too. I love music. I
Oh,
play music.
yes.
I listen to music. I live, breathe music. So that is like one of my hugest outlets when I need to disconnect, I don't
Mm.
want to disconnect from the world entirely, because then that kind of puts you in a bad place and you can kind of, go into depression from there. But
Mhm.
definitely, playing music and having an outlet where you can express yourself, but then you're not turning yourself completely off. You're just activating a different part of you. And that's just so magical to me. I played the flute since I was a young girl, and I always felt like when I played, I was singing through this flute, right? And then later on in life, playing with orchestra and just feeling like it was a moment for me. It was a moment for me and God. It was a moment to just have these gifts put out into the world via sound, but then also I'm letting go every single thing that's bothering me, every single deadline, every single conversation that is just weighing, or maybe, just basic conversations that mean nothing because we carry those things. You know, we might say that we don't, but we do. We totally do. You
We
might say,
do.
"Oh, that doesn't bother me. They said my shoes look funny." Oh, honey, it bothers you.
That's
So
true.
yeah, turning things off is a plus.
Yes, or in short, detox.
Mm.
Detoxifying yourself. So, Miss Vanessa, is vivacity a trait you're born with or a skill you
Mm,
build? Or it's a
yes.
skill, what does a daily reps practice look like?
Oh man, that's such an excellent question. No one has ever asked that before. Good on you. Good on
Thank you.
you. So let's see. If I had to think for a moment, I think you're born with it. I feel like you're born with it. And then you spend your life cultivating it and growing it and watering it like a seed right in the ground.
Hmm.
Sometimes the ground is rocky. Sometimes there is no ground and you have to buy your own pot and grow it yourself. But I feel like it's something that is woven into the tapestry that is you. And as we grow up, we have the opportunity to water and cultivate, and then we also have the opportunity not to. I know that there are times that I can think of where I was just a waitress, working in a restaurant, and I wasn't thinking of anything else other than making sure people had what they needed, right? Or getting home safely. So there are definitely points where I was not practicing that, but then when things happened in such a way that allowed me to move forward and step into that, or at different times in my life step into it fully, then I remembered, oh yeah, this is part of me. And I feel that with every ounce of being. It definitely is with you from day one. I can remember being very little and watching television. My mother would sit me in front of a television and just leave me there. That was my babysitter. This is the 80s. And so I watched MTV. I watched Madonna sing Like a Prayer for the first time on MTV. I watched so much television, old 80s and 90s television, and it just spoke to me, and I just knew that that was going to be part of my life. I'm sitting, you imagine this little young girl on a bed, right, with a pot of tea, which is hilarious,
Yes.
pouring my little cup of tea and watching these programs, but then analyzing them and breaking them down and trying to think about what is the storyline? Why is this person walking in here? Why is that person crying? Just doing all of these things at a very young age. And then, understanding that there was a reason for all of that. There's a reason why I enjoy talking and writing and telling stories and making people feel things. This is going to sound really weird, but for me, I find that when I make someone cry, that's a compliment. Because
Mm.
you're helping elicit this emotion that's coming from somewhere, and it's so complicated, but you've created this work that just moved someone, and that's just a big compliment, I feel like.
Yes, people. Vivacity is something like a muscle. You need to exercise it to make it bigger and bigger and balls. So,
Yes.
so how does a vivacious presence specifically change the mechanism or mechanics for persuasion, leadership, and selling ideas?
Well, it's certainly a disruptor, because if you're being vivacious, then you are really just like taking the reins, right? You're taking the reins from what the systematic process is. So let's say that there is a way to write up a document, right? On Microsoft Word, let's say. And then you realize, like, hey, Google Documents can do so much better and so much else. And I have all of these amazing photos that I want to include and all of these words that I want to use. And so, that vivaciousness in you is activated, and you're just like constantly thinking of all of these wonderful ideas and how to apply them, that you no longer are, beholden to that standard process. And now you're just firing on all cylinders. So, you know, um, typical standard processes and formulas, when you're in your vivaciousness, it doesn't apply fully. You remember the mechanics of it and the foundations, but you don't care. You break it apart, and then you recreate and see what happens, and that's just the blessing of it all, I think.
Let's talk about the overcoming barriers and building resilience,
Mm.
the fake it dilemma. What do you say to someone who feels being more vivacious requires them to inauthentic or fake?
Hmm. I would say that, well, first and foremost, the fake it till you make it ideology, it serves its purpose to an extent. And
Mm.
then at a certain point, you really have to either take it and run with it and be vivacious or not and continue to just, move along on this like flat line, right? And so I feel like if we could kind of harness our energy to be more vivacious, then in that sense, we're going to do more, right? We're going to be more. And then that fake it till you make it process doesn't really apply anymore because you're no longer faking it. You are it. So it's part of you. But I do recall saying, okay, fake it till you make it, sure. But then thinking on the backside, you know what? I might be slightly faking it at times, but then 2 seconds later, I'm not faking it. I'm it, and it is me, and you're just living, and people see that, right? People can see that energy. They can see the actions of someone who's living their vivacious lifestyle, or someone who's just faking it till you make it because they're doing that bare minimum. But then, when you're doing it and maybe you're like, okay, you know what? I can actually do this on my own. I don't need these training wheels. And you just go for it. It becomes something entirely different. And it becomes that vivacious lifestyle or that vivacious, energy. And you just go, you keep going and you just don't stop.
We'll have off days, right? What is your process for pulling yourself out of a long energy, frustrated, or depleted state to reconnect with the vivacious core?
Mm. So there is an excellent story. Um, I spent 4 years traveling the country and interviewing strangers about happiness. And then I worked with commercial clients for their brands to exemplify their story versus the product and telling people about who they are. And I came up with this phrase and I still use it today, but I said, it's no longer about the box. It's about who
Mm.
is behind the box. That's what's going to sell the product. And you can quote me on that. But throughout all that time, I was working so much and doing so much and leading that vivacious lifestyle and just on all the time. And then, at the 4-year mark, I got burnt out. I burned out so bad. I mean, I was putting in 200 times the effort and the income wasn't what it was initially. And I was like, you know what? I think I'm done. I think I'm done for a while. And
Mhm.
so I made a very ungraceful exit at the moment. I was supposed to be somewhere else in California. And I was like, I'm sorry, I can't. Like, I just could not move. I just couldn't. And so I spent a year doing absolutely nothing. And that was the darkness. Doing nothing was the darkness, even though it sounds so good sometimes. It never is. It's never as good as you feel like it's going to be. I slept a lot. I watched television. I wanted nothing to do with anything that I had done for the last 4 years because I was so exhausted and I just wasn't feeling it. So I was in a deep, deep, dark place. And my family, God bless them, they just let me be. And thank God that whenever I've been in such a place where I really just need, darkness like a mushroom or whatever, I just thankfully the people in my life have left me alone to let me feel that. So being alone with yourself, scary as it may be sometimes, it was so necessary to have those internal conversations and to, yes, have my pity parties of one and dine alone in my room, just really stay in my little cave for a year or so, or maybe a little less than that, but probably a year. And then one day I just I just got up and I knew that it was time to move. And I remember thinking, I don't want to create something. And this is during that period. I thought, I don't want to touch anything or create anything until I know in my deepest, inner soul that I'm ready. Because for that last 4 years, I'd been, working on everyone else's stuff and not mine. And so I was like, I'm not going to touch anything until I'm ready. And it's at that point where you're just kind of almost disgusted with everything, but in a way that you're just done. You're done with it. Maybe you played soccer your whole life and you're just done. You want to play basketball. You want to
I'm
play
done.
anything. You just want to sit down. And so eventually I had that feeling of let's go back. We've got to get back to it. And then I started by turning on my computer and seeing what mess I had, deleting things, and then getting organized and eventually putting out the call for guests for the podcast, started editing some videos and making some posts, and then slowly but surely I got my composure back, but it took a long time, and I definitely did not allow myself to do anything until I was ready. And I think that was a big important part, because if I came back too soon, I knew that it would be like half, 50% or less even, and I would never want to put out anything into the world, because of course the internet, everything is everywhere, right? Once you put it out there, everybody has it,
Everything.
and it's there forever unless you know
Yes.
how to, delete it. But I've never, thankfully, thank God, to this day, and hopefully never, knock on wood, I just could not put out something that I didn't believe in. And so I took that time off, and I let myself feel the feelings, the despair, the depression, the anger, the I'm not enough, at the time they called it functional freeze. You saw that on social. All
Yes.
of those things, I let myself feel it, and I think that was, like, what the key was, is, like, understanding and recognizing where I was, and then letting myself feel it, and then letting myself gradually heal and get ready to where I could get back to work and just start, and just bleh, vivaciousness, live on fire. And I haven't stopped. I think I came back officially in October, I wanna say October. And, so I had a corporate job for that year period, and it was terrible. And I could tell that I just was, like, losing so much, right, energy. And then one day I woke up and was like, I said, "If I was to pass away right now, I would be so mad that I was, like, at a desk doing terrible work, that, thankless job." Like, I just felt so, like, torn apart by that. And I ended up quitting and saying, "Okay, we need to get back." And so yeah, October I came back, started recording again, started filming stuff again, and just I haven't stopped since. I've been at it now, full time, 100%, and I've not stopped. So I'm looking forward to much growth and adventures ahead. But feeling those feelings and being in it with yourself, I think that's important too.
Yes, definitely. Truly, truly important, Miss Vanessa. But before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, people, because my abstract essay is already in fifth season, abstract poetry in second season, and my book 101 review coming sixth season next year, comedy 101 second season or third season, food 101 sixth season already, geography 101 love letters. Movie 101 Review, Music 101 fourth season, Science 101, Sex 101 in third season, My Baby Podcast, Mental Health 101, Law 101, Bible Verses 101, Entrepreneurship 101, and Motivation 101. Please listen to them wherever you listen your podcast. So, Miss Vanessa, Eve, vivacity is contagious. What is the ultimate impact or ripple you hope someone creates by embracing this way of being in the world?
I would hope that they inspire the next person that they touch with whatever it is that they do, and that it creates the energy in someone else to do something extraordinary. Already, you're extraordinary by just living and by being here and taking your next breath. You're extraordinary. And so, by you being vivacious and touching someone else in whatever which way that is, then that in itself is also extraordinary, and they will do great things. We think that people don't understand, or that they don't connect with what we do, our actions, our words, our feelings, our art, but they do. Someone will. And in that, they will be inspired, and they will also do extraordinary things. And together, we will change the world.
We will change the world starting 2026. And thank you so much, Miss Vanessa, for sharing your what do you call it, vivaciousness. What do you call that? The vibe.
Vivaciousness, vivacity.
Yeah, Yes, thank you so much. And can you please invite our listeners to support your advocacy, your podcast, your films, or whatever projects that you're doing right now?
Yes, most definitely. Visit VanessaTheVivacious.com. I'm also on all social platforms as at Vanessa the Vivacious. You can find Humanity 2.0 Podcast at Humanity 2.0 Podcast on social platforms and on YouTube. We have an amazing season of guests sharing their humanity and exploring the topic of humanity. And we would love to share this with you. Our shows and our production company is publicly supported, so you can buy Humanity a coffee by visiting buymeacoffee.com/humanity 2.0 podcast. I would love to have you as a guest. So come see me about being a guest on Humanity 2.0. And if you're interested to be part of the production world and to make films and make an impact on the world, send me a message and I will get back to you. And don't forget to be vivacious.
Yes, don't forget, people, to send our listeners away with one tool, Miss Vanessa. What is a single powerful question they ask themselves at the start to each to orient toward more vivacious, impactful presence?
I would challenge them to ask themselves, what's one thing I can do today to help someone else?
Miss Vanessa the Vivacious, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me.
And looking forward for more episodes to come. Looking forward for my movie 101 review, music 101. And let's talk about all things under the sun. More to come, people. See you soon.